Hi, everybody. My name is Steve Hansen, and welcome to the channel. This is a little thing I put together to talk about NASCAR and racing in general. And today's topic, I watched Kenny Wallace's podcast a little bit ago with Coffee with Kenny, and his question was, is the NASCAR race car dead? And I emphatically would like to say no, and I'll give you the reasons why. First of all, let me premise all that by saying, well, I am a race fan and have been since the late 60s. I mean, my father used to race what they call the jalopy cars. I started out in the bomber divisions, which was you took a car, knocked the glass out, put a roll cage in, and run street tires. I'm from northern Nebraska, and then from that bomber car, I went through the ranks and got up to dirt late models, ran in the IMCA and WSOTA divisions in Nebraska, Iowa, Kansas, South Dakota. And then I was trying to break into the bigger ranks, and I was a pit crewman on BG Motorsports ASA car. They're one of their old goodies dash cars. I also had the opportunity of working as I guess you'd call it a part-time or a volunteer pit crewman on Rick Ware's truck racing team with Angie Wilson. I've also been on the administrative side. I was a public relations director for a racetrack here in Nebraska. But bottom line, folks, I've kind of been in and around the racing world, if you will, and still know people in the industry. But back to the point of the matter, is the NASCAR race car dead? And I will say this to start off with, the reason that even has to be a question, and Kenny made some great points in his Coffee with Kenny, but the only reason that question is even has to be asked falls on the feet of NASCAR itself. And by that, I will say because they own IMSA, and they bought out ARCA. So bottom line, they're a big company that has swallowed up different entities. And so if you think back to when we went to this current Gen 7 car that they call it, and you start really digesting what this car is, it's an offspin of the IMSA cars. So somewhere in the inner thinkings of the so-called brain trust NASCAR, they're looking at what the successes are with that particular series and say, hey, well, what if we do this and do this with NASCAR? Stop it. Okay, just stop it. If people want to go enjoy that particular division, absolutely cool. But NASCAR started in the 40s, and from the 40s up to, I'm carefully going to say the early 90s perhaps, you had pieces and parts on these cars that the way the rules were, you had like I think the deck lid had to fit. Okay, yeah, it was modified, but basically you had to take a stock deck lid and that had to fit. And there were other pieces and parts. I remember watching a story that Kyle Petty told that they went out, they'd wrecked their car at some racetrack, and I can't remember if it was the bumper or fender or whatever, but they went out and swiped one off of the car out in the parking lot so that they could put it on the race car and be good to go. Okay, the reason I bring those points up is because NASCAR and their development of this thing that they got out there now was they wanted to get back to race on Sunday, buy on Monday. Well, a point that Kenny made in his podcast was about this with the sedan product that the race cars these days are made out of. Well, the only manufacturer in the Cup Series today that has a sedan, or what they call a sedan, is the Toyota Camry. The Mustang is not a sedan, and the Camaro is not a sedan. And the sad part about this, folks, is the manufacturers quit making the family sedan, if you will, Ford and Chevrolet. So the only manufacturer that does have a sedan, a family sedan car, is Toyota. So NASCAR, or excuse me, the manufacturers now have Mustangs and Camaros, and now Chevrolet has done away with the Camaro. So what the hell is NASCAR supposed to do? Okay, so with all that in mind, the whole premise, had they not gotten away from, and they let teams get away from, building all these cars without a lot of they look similar to, whatever model that they had to have, but The other thing that I'm going to touch on, and I know that computerization is in our cars and have been for a very long time. But the thing of it is, they went to these composite bodies and got away from the craftsmen that built the cars that we like to watch, and said, "Well, this isn't realistic because it." And they were trying to cut. They were trying to cut costs. Well, it's costing too much money to have these fabricators build this stuff and do all this, and after you wreck it, see it with these composite cars. Just like you watch the Clash. They beat the shit out of the cars, and there wasn't a whole lot wrong with them. Well, that's great. But the point of the matter, folks, is they said it was costing too much with the fabricators. Well, guess what you got with the computer cars now? You have to have engineers, you have to have IT experts, and you got a whole myriad of computerized crap going on. Well, you know what? Those people don't do it for free. So, and now the base cost of a cup car is $250,000. And let's touch on the wheel subject. Okay, here again, buy on race on Sunday, buy on Monday. Tell me a center lug car that you will find out there anywhere. Which the whole premise of this was, well, when you go buy a brand new car off the showroom floor, they've got 22-inch wheels. We got to have 22-inch wheels. Well, let's go back to the 90s and 2000s and the cars that we had then. Well, number one, you couldn't take a car off of a Ford Fusion and put it on a race car because of two things. The bolt pattern, while 5 was what they call the Ford 5-inch bolt pattern, and the bolt patterns that were on the car were way smaller. Not only that, most of those were 14-inch tires, or 13 in some cases. NASCAR was racing 15-inch tires and were like 10 inches wide. So, bottom line, folks, is this. If the NASCAR race car is going to survive, NASCAR needs to listen a little bit more back to the teams and stop trying to mold NASCAR into IMSA, into supercars, into whatever. Focus on salvaging the product that was NASCAR that many of us, and this is one other topic I'm going to touch on. They talked about fans leaving in droves, and NASCAR would be different today had Dale Sr. Still been with us. And I'm not going to get into all of that stuff, but I dare say that had seniors survived, the scope of NASCAR would be far different today. And right now you've got Mark Martin and Junior and a lot of former drivers who are trying to save the product that I'll say was NASCAR. So that being said, thankfully, one or two of the people that have stirred a shitstorm in NASCAR are gone. In my opinion, what they need to do, a part of the France family, y'all need to listen or hire somebody that knows what the hell they're doing as far as the product and let them make some choices instead of you guys thinking because you're listening to consultants and this and that. And until recently, y'all haven't listened to the people that know, okay? So, in my opinion, yes, the NASCAR race car can be saved, but y'all need to start, by that I mean NASCAR needs to start listening to those that do know, okay? With that, everybody, listen, I have an old saying, and I'll end this with this. It's better to have raced and went broke than not to have raced at all. Have a great day, everybody.